A system in shambles. The urgent need for change. The global economic system is failing us. It's a system where the rich get richer and the poor are left behind. This isn't just a moral issue, it's a recipe for instability and conflict. We need a new economic order, one that prioritizes fairness and sustainability. This new order must be built on cooperation, not exploitation. It must empower the marginalized and give everyone a chance to thrive. The current system, often dubbed neoliberalism, has led to massive wealth inequality. The gap between the haves and the have-nots has reached staggering levels. This concentration of wealth in the hands of a few undermines democracy and erodes social cohesion. It creates a world where the needs of the many are sacrificed for the greed of a few. The consequences of this broken system are all around us. From climate change to global pandemics, the challenges we face are interconnected and require collective action. We need a fundamental shift in our thinking. Echoes of the past, the new international economic order revisited. The call for a new international economic order is not new. In the 1970s, developing countries demanded a more equitable system. This movement, known as the New International Economic Order, NIEO, called for fairer trade terms and increased development assistance. The NIEO movement highlighted the deep-seated imbalances in the global economy. The movement's demands for greater economic justice continue to resonate today. The spirit of the NIEO is more relevant than ever. The challenges we face today require global solutions. These solutions cannot be imposed by a select few powerful nations. They must be developed through dialogue and cooperation, with the participation of all countries. A new international economic order must address the historical injustices that continue to shape the global economy. A world-divided economic disparity and its consequences. The consequences of global economic disparity are far-reaching and devastating. From poverty and hunger to conflict and instability, the human toll of inequality is immeasurable. The statistics paint a grim picture. Billions live on less than a few dollars a day, lacking access to basic necessities. Children die from preventable diseases. Millions are displaced by conflict and climate change. This vast chasm between rich and poor is not simply a matter of luck or individual effort. It is the result of systemic inequalities embedded in the global economic system. These inequalities are perpetuated by unfair trade practices and crippling debt burdens. The consequences of this disparity extend far beyond the developing world. Economic inequality fuels global instability. It creates breeding grounds for extremism, terrorism, and conflict. Addressing global economic disparity is not just a moral imperative. It is a matter of global security and prosperity. Investing in the economic well-being of all people is not just the right thing to do, it is the smart thing to do. The price of inaction: conflict, instability, and lost potential. The cost of inaction is far greater than the cost of change. Failing to address the root causes of global economic inequality will lead to more conflict, more instability, and more human suffering. It will undermine global efforts to combat climate change, eradicate poverty, and promote peace and security. The world is becoming increasingly interconnected. What happens in one part of the world inevitably affects us all. The COVID-19 pandemic is a stark reminder of this interconnectedness. Similarly, the impacts of climate change are felt globally. Rising sea levels, extreme weather events, and droughts do not respect national borders. We are at a crossroads. We can continue down the path of inequality and instability, or we can choose a different future. The choice is ours. A shared vision towards a more equitable global economy. A more equitable global economy is not a utopian dream, it is a necessity. It's a world where all countries have a voice in shaping the rules of the global economy. Building this more just and sustainable world requires a fundamental shift in our thinking. We need to move away from the narrow pursuit of self-interest and embrace a more cooperative and compassionate approach. We need to recognize that we are all interconnected and that our fates are intertwined. This means rethinking the role of international institutions like the United Nations, the World Bank, and the International Monetary Fund. These institutions, created in the aftermath of World War II, have played a critical role in shaping the global economy. However, they are in dire need of reform. They must be made more democratic, transparent, and accountable to the needs of developing countries. Restructuring for resilience, rethinking trade, debt, and development. The current system of international trade is often skewed in favor of wealthy nations. Developing countries are often locked into producing raw materials at low prices, while wealthy nations add value through manufacturing and services. This unequal exchange perpetuates poverty and hinders development. We need fair trade practices that empower developing countries to move up the value chain and build more diversified and resilient economies. The crushing debt burdens faced by many developing countries are another major obstacle to development. Often, these debts were accumulated under unfair lending practices or inherited from colonial regimes. Debt relief and restructuring are essential to free up resources for investment in education, healthcare, and infrastructure. Investing in education, healthcare, and technology in developing countries is not charity. It is a smart investment in a more prosperous and secure future for all. The power of cooperation, international institutions, and global governance. The challenges we face, climate change, pandemics, economic instability, are global in nature and require global solutions. No single nation, however powerful, can solve these problems alone. We need effective international institutions and a renewed commitment to multilateralism. The United Nations, despite its flaws, remains our best hope for collective action. We need to strengthen the UN system, making it more democratic, transparent, and accountable. We need to empower the UN to address global challenges like climate change, pandemics, and conflict. From charity to justice. Reimagining development assistance. Development assistance should not be seen as charity. It should be seen as an investment in a more just and prosperous world. It should be about empowering developing countries to break free from the cycle of poverty and dependence. This means moving away from the traditional donor-recipient model of development assistance. We need to create genuine partnerships based on mutual respect and shared responsibility. Developing countries must be in the driver's seat, setting their own priorities and leading their own development. We need to focus on building local capacity and empowering local communities. This means supporting local organizations, investing in education and training, and promoting technology transfer. Trade, not aid, is ultimately the key to sustainable development. A call to action. Building a movement for economic justice. Building a more just and sustainable global economy will not be easy. It will require a fundamental shift in power and a radical rethinking of the way we do business. It will require a global movement for economic justice. This movement must be led by those most affected by the injustices of the current system: the poor, the marginalized, and the excluded. We need to build bridges between social movements fighting for climate justice, racial justice, gender equality, and economic justice. We need to hold our leaders accountable. Join the conversation, your voice, your future. The fight for a more just and equitable global economy is a fight for the future of humanity. It is a fight that we can win, but only if we work together. We need your voice, your energy, and your commitment. Educate yourself about the issues. Talk to your friends and family. Get involved in organizations working for economic justice. Support businesses that are committed to ethical and sustainable practices. Use your voice to demand change. Contact your elected officials. Write letters to the editor. Together we can build a more just and sustainable world for ourselves and for generations to come. Don't forget to like and subscribe to Express Econgeo Finance Insights for more insights and updates.